Welcome back to Stayin 2800. This is the final episode of our WandaVision recap. We are tonight talking about episode 9, the series finale. The series finale, mind you. Not the season finale. The series finale is what this episode is called. As always, I'm Brian, joined, of course, by my co-host, Willie. Willie, how are you?
Better than Wanda.
You're wearing black. I don't know if that was on purpose.
I'm still in mourning, yeah.
I'm still in mourning. Willie, tonight we have assembled the World Security Council again. Joining us back, we have Kyle. Kyle, how are you?
Oh, just still grieving, as always.
Still grieve. Well, hey, you know how the show feels about grief. And also rounding us out, Nick. Nick, how are you tonight?
Optimistic as ever.
That's good, because we'll try to break your spirits.
Yeah.
Good luck.
All right, let's start with just some general thoughts. Kyle, you seem to be the most neutral on this, so I'm actually going to start with you. Kyle, what were your thoughts about this series finale? Not the series as a whole, but this episode specifically.
Yeah, I think this episode, while was good in terms of it felt, I think, most like a Marvel movie. I think it had that kind of big superhero, those moments and those different plot moments I think we were waiting for most of the series. I also think it was disappointing in that it didn't tie up most of what was brought up, or it actually opened more doors than closed, which is frustrating as not only just someone who enjoys television, but as someone who is really looking forward to some closure by the end. I think I liked that they had the defining moment for Wanda, and they had this kind of hopefully next steps for her. But yeah, I think it was just it was kind of flat for me through most of it.
I think that's fair. I think that's kind of the general reaction from what I saw. But Nick, you were pretty positive on it. What do you think about the final episode?
Well, I had several amazing thoughts throughout. One, we finally got our big bad standoff that you'd expect from any Marvel staple. I loved, as a philosophy major, Vision versus Vision intellectually, and I see Willie dying over there, and I'm very sorry, but that was, I mean, divide by zero, and just anyone who's played Portal 2, that those are the funniest moments when you've got machines versus machines. But I mean, whatever. I'm okay with the leftovers. I'm very much someone who likes to enjoy my pizza a couple days later. So
if we're talking pizza, hold on.
No, but Marvel is very much a pizza. Like the MCU started as like a personal pan, and now you've got like this whole sheet pizza that's like, you can't possibly eat it all in one sitting, and you're coming back and you're taking pieces out of the fridge, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I am happy to percolate with what they've left me with. I think that this finale was exciting. There was a lot of really cool stuff. There was a lot of exploration of her abilities that we've never had before for a character that we've had as long as Wanda. Like, I don't know. I think that this finale fulfilled its purpose of broadening our understanding of Wanda before the MCU chooses to use her again.
Yeah, I think that's fair also. Willie, bring us down.
So, okay. So if Marvel movies are a pizza, then Wanda would be, you've been blindfolded for 8 weeks, and they've been feeding you what they tell you is pizza. They finally take the blindfold off, and it's really dog shit. And but you know what? The dog shit's name is Boner, so it's okay.
Not even the dog, just
that's
it.
Shit. Yeah, exactly.
Remember that when there was a dead dog that was a central plot point that we just introduced and abandoned?
I I'm gonna leave. I really have to compartmentalize the fact that the dog was brought up and never done anything with, because again, Kyle, I made you do the homework. The Vision series, Agatha Harkness, the dog, the flowers. It was all there, and they whiffed it.
If the point of this show was to make me so angry that I considered reading the source material, then it did its job.
Perhaps that was their goal.
So I think I've said, I think I'm definitely the least Marvel centric of the four of us. But I'm also like I've long said has been my favorite Avenger. I was really excited for WandaVision. I was also really excited for Marvel to do something weird and different and experimental, and they did exactly what this could have been a movie. They did exactly like what they've been doing all along, except they've been telling us every week that it will be different, wink, wink, and then at the end, it turns out there were no winks. So I think that's my ultimate disappointment with the show. Yeah.
Yep. I'm much more closer to you on this, Willie. I don't personally, I couldn't care less about Wanda or Vision just like as characters. I know. Well, I'm sorry. As
Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you don't like the magic people?
I absolutely, yeah. No, here's my thing. My addendum to that: don't care at all about Doctor Strange. Marvel, like magic in the Marvel universe and superheroes in general, like Zatanna, all that nonsense in DC. Like I don't care about it. Dr. Fate, who cares? It's just not for me. I'm like,
the Force isn't just space magic.
Big
yeah, but it's like
guy, are you, Brian?
Yeah, no, I am not a big Iron Fist guy. I care about, in this order, Captain America, Black Panther, and Daredevil are my three guys in the Marvel universe, because I'm much more a DC fan. But I've been all in on the MCU since Jump Street. I still read a bunch of Marvel. So I don't care at all about Wanda or Vision. And I was really excited for this show because I thought they were going to do something interesting. I like puzzle box shows when they're done really well, which is possible. And I just thought this was an interesting idea to take two characters. It's something Marvel does really well. Take characters that people normally don't care about, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and make them really interesting, make them really lovable. Because I actually did like Wanda, the MCU version of Wanda. I always thought she was like, as a character, I don't care about the Scarlet Witch at all, but she was super enjoyable in the MCU to me. Vision also. Not a character I care normally about, but I think that their portrayals in the MCU are great. So I was really excited for this. This episode was literally my worst case scenario of what I thought the finale was going to be. We can talk about Marvel movies and the third act of Marvel movies always being a superhero punch-off, and I expected that to some extent. But there are definitely some things that really bothered me. The boner thing really bothered me. Also, the direct reference to Days of Future Past I don't know if anybody else caught this, but the kid, Tommy, the speed kid, does his speed and takes off one of the sword agent's hats and is wearing it, which is exactly what Evan Peters' Quicksilver does in the Time in a Bottle sequence from Days of Future Past. So I was like, you guys are really pouring salt in this wound. But yeah, I mean, there was Wanda versus Agatha, White Vision versus WandaVision, random sword stuff, a brief appearance by Darcy, a brief appearance by Jimmy, a brief appearance by Monica. It was just a lot of threads that are just like, wow, you guys just did not have an ending other than the fact that Wanda needs to save the day, and you couldn't commit to her being the big bad anyways. Like, you couldn't commit to a dark Wanda, and I think that would have been way more interesting. So this was basically the worst case scenario for me in terms of a finale to this show. I think it looked fine. I think the effects were great. The production value of this show has been phenomenal since Jump Street. Like, really, I give Disney a ton of credit for their Disney Plus stuff, because The Mandalorian looks like a 10 out of 10. WandaVision looks like a 10 out of 10. There's really nothing in terms of effects or visuals I was like, this looks bad. Like the two Vision fights, I'm like, this looks just like it did in Ultron. Like, this looks really great.
Do we know, was this filmed using the same type of stuff as
They did not use the volume for this, I don't believe.
Okay, so it was like actual sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's going to be a making of, I think,
Yeah,
in the
there is a
in-between
making
weeks,
of,
which I will
similar to the
absolutely watch.
Yeah, I watched
Those are
both of
great.
the seasons of the Mandalorian version, so I am excited about that. I will say again, I've been saying it all season, but Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are the MVPs of the show. I mean, they both. The reason there's really any enjoyment for me out of the whole ride has been their performances have been really phenomenal, and I give Marvel a ton of credit for giving them the space to kind of try a few different things. So I was really impressed with that. But we're going to jump in to run down the episode. We're going to do some in and outs, and I'm sorry to say I'm going to have to I'm going to assume everyone's out on all of these, and someone is going to have to talk me in. So I have 15 for you because it's a packed episode. And we're going to start here at the beginning of the episode, and it's Wanda versus Agatha. Which the first end of the fight leads to the Wizard of Oz shot, which I'm like, I knew we were in trouble from that moment on. But yeah, I was out on this fight. I'm out on magic fights. I just like this was just like, oh, this is like the end of Harry Potter again. It's just like magic beams against each other, and I'm like, what are we doing? No, I'm sorry.
Wow, tell us how you really feel, Brian.
But okay, but in Infinity War, one of the coolest fights was Doctor Strange v Thanos with the gems and the Sorcerer Supreme. Like,
I don't care about that fight at all.
No.
Wow,
I remember the
Brian
hype.
likes the punches.
I remember the hype leading up to that. You were like,
no, my favorite moment from Infinity War is Cap holding the gauntlet when Thanos punches him and him holding the gauntlet up, because that's incredible. And then also, here's another moment from Infinity War that I love: Cap and Black Panther running at the same speed, which I was like, that is incredible. But again, those are two of my three.
Everybody loves that, Brian.
Well, yeah,
but
nothing wrong with that.
Anyways, I didn't like the magic, but did anybody like? Why? Also, can I just say this? Why did they do this to Catherine Hahn's face? Like, it's like was she wearing some kind of prosthetic to make her look like a weird old witch?
Yeah, it was something weird was going on.
It was something weird, right? Like, I'm not making that. Like, she looked weird.
I think
part of it was the hair too. They really
Maybe like the hair. I feel like there was some kind of prosthetic.
I think she just has an expressive face.
Yeah.
I normally like Catherine Hahn. I just.
Anyways, I'm with Nick. I'm in on the magic fight, and I'm also in on the Wizard of Oz because it was cute.
Yeah, I laughed
on that one.
Yeah, though I will say, Brian, I was worried because I was worried that was the last we were going to see of Agatha.
I actually would have loved that. I would have loved that if that was the case, and then White Vision was like, "Psych, I'm Ultron." It would have been like the best show of all time.
I mean, I can be with you on being disappointed that Ultron did not have.
How do we not have Ultron? This is not nearly as upset as I am that we still haven't had Max Rebo in 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, but like the fact that there wasn't an Ultron at all, except for one name drop in 9 episodes of a WandaVision show.
Where's what's the devil's name again?
Mephisto.
Yeah, where's that? Where's Mephisto?
I don't need that. That's in the Doctor Strange movie.
Where's Magneto? Where's
well, Magneto is
Reed, Mr. Richards.
I think
we're gonna get to that. Yeah. We're gonna get to it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. White Vision versus WandaVision. I was fine with. I mean, like, I'm out, but I was like, I'm fine with the Vision fights.
I just wanted more.
He just walked away.
Well, I haven't gotten there yet. We're not at the ship yet. We're not at the ship conversation yet. I'm just talking about the initial.
Oh, that was fun as hell. Phasing in and out and like innovatively using their powers. Like, it's one of those things. Like, if you talk to someone who has a twin and they're just like, you're evenly matched until one of you gets more angry, and you have 2 robots that are incapable of anger that have like all of the same abilities. I think that was a testament to Wanda's power, because like there was like reconstructed vibranium ass like real world Vision, and then there was Vision who could only exist within the hex, holding his own the same. Like that, I mean, that's Spider-Man catching Winter Soldier's fist in Civil War and like demonstrating power. Like, and they do that in subtle ways, and I love when they make that happen.
To that point, I really loved the moment where White Vision tries the Thanos move on WandaVision, where he tries to pull the stone out, and WandaVision phases out of it. I really did like that. So that was the one element of this I liked. But otherwise, I was like, yeah, I've seen
I
this
just
fight
wish
a
we
thousand
had.
times.
I'm in, but I wish there was more fighting between the two, because I think you're right. I think it would have been really cool to see them more intermingling of the powers and more kind of just like subversion and like aha.
Yeah, I actually would have taken more. Jimmy Woo. Jimmy Woo escaping the cuffs and saying flourish, doing more close-handed magic.
You were
that.
out on that? Come on.
Oh my god, I love that.
The best.
That's probably my one thing that I was in on. I was like, that was fun.
That was a nice little like touch to his character, because we didn't get much out after that. So I was like, okay.
No, Jimmy Woo and Darcy were into the show to get us through the middle of the series, and then we're just totally forgotten about.
Yeah.
I bet they'll pop
Well, I
up
think
again.
some of that they said was pandemic stuff too, wasn't it? Was why they pulled them out of like the finale.
I didn't hear that, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get a couple more thoughts about that, but yeah, it was just Monica too. I mean, we'll get to Monica in a minute, but okay, next up, and if anybody's in on this, please tell me why. Pietro is a character named Ralph Boner, not at all related to the X-Men. This sucks.
I laughed. I don't know. It didn't bother me. I feel like okay, so when I play video games, I like to look at like the framing that they use. So Brian, you're familiar with the first Life is Strange game and the rewind powers, and you have an indecisive teenager with the ability to rewind time, and at first that feels like a gift, and I didn't even realize that it happened to me the first time I played through, but I became dependent on that rewind. And then there's that moment where you don't get the rewind and you panic a little bit because you felt like God. And I kind of just sort of viewed that as like this show is a Russian nesting doll of subversion and mind games. And like it's Wanda lying to herself, it's Wanda lying to everyone around her, it's Agatha lying to Wanda on top of that, and it's Marvel Studios lying to us, the viewer, as like the full on like you've zoomed back out on set. And I like as a meta commentary, I just kind of like that there was that like little moment, like you see Evan Peters and you're like, and we went wild and we talked about it and they released it a week apart, like any TV show. The article, people forgotten how to watch TV, and it was something to talk about. And if we could have binged this, it would not have been that experience. It would have been, if you look at it as like a single consumed 2-hour long movie, like that reveal is a flop. But it's just like I'll use another example. It's like playing Risk for 1 hour at lunch and then having the 24 hours around all of the people you work with to discuss your plan and your move and make alliances and break alliances and subvert. And this has literally happened to me at work where you think you're in a great position, you think you've got everybody on your side, and they've all turned on you, and it's like the game within a game almost. And because of the nature of her powers and because of the framing of the show, I forgave the boner joke. Like to me the only way that could have been better is if Deadpool was somehow involved, like breaking that fourth wall and stepping back. Like I don't think anyone is under the illusion that these shows are to be self-contained. Like no one expects a Marvel movie to be self-contained, and that was like the biggest complaint with Infinity War was Cap says fewer words in this than he does in his cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, not that that's a huge complaint, but like that's true. And it's all this build-up and mashup, and if you don't have the context and you don't carry it through to the next movies, it's not there. So that was kind of what I was setting up with my leftovers comment. Like I compared like the stuff that's left on the table, I'm confident they're going to do something with, and I'm okay digesting and waiting for another meal before taking that in. So anyway, sorry, I just rambled, just hijacked this whole conversation.
No,
But I'm in on the boner joke.
I'm
See, I
I'm
think
so out.
I think that would be fair if I thought that they had a plan for this. And I think you can only use this trick once.
Mhm.
I don't think you can work in anything. Like if their plan was to merge universes in some capacity, I don't think you have that option anymore. And I also think that this does, again, this show, and this is something I said before, this show is rewarding or the Marvel Universe, cinematic universe, has rewarded fans for reading into things, for following threads, and for consuming all of their aspects. And to target hardcore Marvel fans in such a way with the end of the 5th episode by having Evan Peters play Pietro, to set up an intentional red herring that ultimately ends not with even any of the hint of, hey, maybe this pays off, but to literally just be like,
joke.
you guys are dumb for thinking that, and we wanted you to think that, and look how smart we are that we made a dick joke out of it. I think sucks. I think that there was a total way to do that and to still do it smartly, even if you weren't going to be like, hey, yeah, this is that Pietro. I think there was a way to do it in a cool, fun way. And I think they took a road that burns me a little as a longtime fan of this series. So I'm out of that. Okay, the next thing is the town is temporarily released. Agatha basically lets them go. And they all come at Wanda and they're like, your grief is poisoning us. We have nightmares. Why don't you just kill us? So I'm actually in on this.
Me too.
Because you wanted to die too, though.
Yeah.
No.
I was like,
please let me stop
End
watching
it.
this show.
End it now.
No, I just liked the fact that they were at this point in the episode. I liked that they were committing to the fact that Wanda was the villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it comes down to the MCU always tries to put that emphasis on real people. Like sometimes it's super heavy-handed, like Cap rescuing that waitress in Avengers, like in Hawkeye getting a busload of people. Like sure, it's there, but yeah. I don't know. I liked that. I liked that they had that moment. Like you don't forget that they're people. Like.
Yeah.
And like props to Emma Caulfield for her like resurgence for this moment to be like, I have a daughter that you've literally locked in a room. Can I be with her? Or
Is
like
that
I have
Dottie?
a daughter. Yeah. Yeah. She's the girl from Buffy.
What a waste. Like I thought Dottie was gonna be part of this show, but that's
again, even the actress hinted at like, where's Dottie? And it's like, oh, I didn't even think about Dottie. That's a great point. Why don't I think I gotta look at it again? Like
she talked about the perils of being a red herring.
Yeah, too many red herrings. It's rough. Okay.
Juan wasn't literally painted red.
What was that?
Oh no, the stork. I'm surprised the stork wasn't literally painted red.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of red for sure. I'm definitely out on this. The next up is Agatha's Green Goblin Spider-Man 1. You'll never know when a crazy person is going to come along with a sadistic choice, and she's basically like, you have to save Westview or save your family. And I'm like, oh God, Marvel, like this is early 2000s superhero villain writing, and we couldn't have cleaned this up a little bit. I didn't even think it was impactful, like because again, I know that Wanda's kids aren't real.
Right.
I think I Ian Malcolm this one because I think I called this. She was going to have to choose between her family and the town. And boy, do I hate being right all the time. I think I said this. This was the decision I wanted a hero to make. Like, this is the decision I wanted Tony to make an Endgame. And they were just like, no, just bring everybody back. And anything that's happened in the last 5 years stays. And it's like, fuck, these gems are super powerful. I would have just assumed you'd revert the world and like you'd have this huge emotional choice. But whatever, we killed you and now your daughter lives without you, which I guess is objectively more sad. Spoilers for Endgame.
Wait, that's how Endgame ends?
Sorry.
Yeah, and also the right thing for Thanos to do is just to snap his fingers and make more food for everyone, more planets for people to live on instead of just murdering. I mean,
That's fair, impartial. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I liked the. You're not wrong that it was a little heavy-handed. Green Goblin 2000 superhero thing, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll be out on that one. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
all right.
Boners are fine, but this is too far.
Next up, Hayward, who is probably wrongfully accused of being the bad guy in this. He just tries to straight up murder the kids. Like, I was with him trying to kill Wanda because, again, a terrorist, basically. Yeah, and literally has hundreds of people kidnapped and tortured. But, like, then he just opens fire on kids, and we're like, all right.
But they're not real, so is it
But
bad?
I don't think he knows that. We know that.
Does that matter?
Does it matter if he knows that or not? Like,
I don't know. Anyways, Rambo shows up for like 2 seconds and deflects the bullets, and we're supposed to be like, oh, she has powers, but we already knew
she
that
absorbs
she
the
has...
bullets.
Yeah, but I'm like, this was just such a waste because that's all she does. Like, there wasn't even a team up of Rambo and Wanda and Vision and the kids. It was like that moment, and then it was just the family, and Monica is just standing there.
Also, I do want to bring this up. I was reading something, and I mean, this was something I didn't pick up on, but just the whole having a white law enforcement officer shooting at the only African American person in the show, also not super great.
That's fair.
It was to reinforce his villainry.
But why was he a villain, though? Other than right before this moment, I'm like, he's the only one that's thinking clearly.
Now, hold on. He lied and manipulate. Like, he stonewalled Wanda. He's the director of SWORD at this time that she comes to retrieve Vision's body to give him a proper burial. And that's your higher commentary on grief right here, because he denies her the grieving process and then gaslights her into thinking that she's the bad guy. Now, I'm not saying that what she did is right, but it is kind of his fault the same way Jesus created Hitler. Like, you know, if you go back far enough in the causality.
Jumping the shark when that's the argument.
No. I'm sorry. I just like making that joke. Like, but if you do go back the causality in terms of the framing of the whole show, and I know that we're talking about this one episode and in that moment, but given the knowledge that we have that he covered up, like he said that she stole Vision's body and made us the viewers and them the characters full on believe that was real ass Vision somehow reassembled, when in fact he was continuing to experiment on her, and she left peacefully. Like, sure, she shattered the glass and went down there and said goodbye, and there was that callback to I can't feel you, and then she left right from there. Like I think that memory that we saw mattered. So
yeah, but at least at the end, Hayward wasn't like, but actually Vision's name was Boner.
No, yeah, Hayward called it Cataract, so I mean it's not really better.
Yeah, Project Cataract. Again, really thought that was going to be an Ultron thing. It wasn't. All right, next up, the Ship of Theseus debate. I'm out of the debate. I liked it in principle. This is what I want. Not this specific debate, but I wanted a philosophical conversation between people before. Like, I wanted it in Star Wars. I wanted it in Revenge of the Sith between Yoda and the Emperor instead of them fighting. And I thought that would have been more effective. And I like the idea of it here. I thought they didn't have enough time to devote to this really being a thing. So they just landed on this ship story and they went in on it for a couple of scenes. And I I'm out on it just because I just don't think it had the time to breathe and to actually be effective.
I mean, as a philosophy, like I do have a degree in philosophy, and I'm just sitting here like, wow, they with the minimal time that they had, I think they set up the argument, they examined all of the like possible counter arguments, and like came to the same logical conclusion, partially because they're the same goddamn being. But I mean, that was a pretty brilliant move on WandaVision's part, like to know how to trick him. Like it's literally, I mean, it's literally the Portal 2 AI versus AI moment where like, divide by zero, and it's like it's not possible. Like your brain should fry trying to think about it. So I don't know. I'm in. I'm in. I'm glad that they put something that like uniquely intellectual into a fist fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. The thing that I didn't like is that he then just leaves.
Yeah, I mean the straight up flying away is rough.
Like you had me. You actually changed my mind on this, Nick, because like the way. But I mean, but you're right. The idea of making this a smart argument between computers is a really, really interesting idea. I don't think it works to resolve the two of them, if that makes sense.
So I actually have a thought on that too.
Yeah.
Your two computers having an argument, and I think Wanda's vision kind of had to stop being emotional. Like I think this is the most emotion we've gotten out of Paul Bettany's vision in any instance in the MCU. And I think he uses this ship argument in the moment to trigger that change in his originals, and it's him. Like I think the point of the ship argument is they are the same. And I think that connection, those synapses connecting, this vision becomes a person in that moment. Like that's literally, so like you are a weapon and you become a person literally in an instant. Of course you're going to fucking run away. I actually don't fault him for that. Like if you suddenly get, like if my computer gains sentience right now, it's piecing the fuck out. Like that's a lot to take in. And I kind of, if you had to grapple with your own existence in that way, like it's a big tall order, but I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah. No, you're right about that.
I think you're giving the show more credit than it's. I think they needed that storyline to end, and they're like, "We'll deal with this later." So
okay,
like, he'll just fly away.
But that's okay. But that's the leftovers I'm talking about. Now we have Vision back in the MCU. Is what ultimately that means.
You don't. This had nothing in this show is going to have any bearings on anything in the MCU ever.
You are incorrect with that.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the full Scarlet Witch, which I do think is going to show up in Multiverse of Madness. So Wanda becomes the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm out on this. Again, I don't care. Like I'm like, this is fine. I don't think this was earned. Like this isn't.
But what is the Scarlet Witch? Is it like?
Yeah, we don't know.
So
like when you eat like 10 burgers in a row at Burger King and you get your picture up on the wall? Like what? That's the problem with this. We don't know what it means.
So I'll answer this for you. This show has redefined what the Scarlet Witch is. They have made it a title. They've made it a thing. Like in the comics, it's just her mutant like hero name or villain name or whatever. Like it sounded cool. And the MCU has a long history of giving relevance to these names that seem, like they go back to Iron Man 1. We're Ironmongers, Tony. Like, cool. Your villain's name is Ironmonger. Like, you never actually say it in the movie, but that's what it is. And I think Scarlet Witch, again, if you want to like open the Russian nesting dolls, it's a title that we know she is because of comics, but they subverted our expectations by how they gave her that name.
But
here.
what does it mean?
I believe it's someone who can control the chaos magic and create
magic,
something
yeah.
out of nothing. Like I think Agatha uses chaos magic, but she needs to like say incantations and do things, and Wanda just thinks it and can, like, I think Vision is the testament to that. She can create matter, whereas Agatha is like, I can only manipulate what's there, and Wanda can literally manifest something from nothing, which is
my read from it was just it's like the super magic user.
yeah, it's like a prophesized,
even more powerful than Doctor Strange.
Right.
Sure,
which
but
he has not been called the Sorcerer Supreme yet, but we know that's him.
But like what? But I mean, I think you're right though, Brian. Like she didn't. What did she do? Like, is she fucking Harry Potter? Is she the chosen one? Like, what did she do? At no point over the course of this show did she do anything to earn anything at all. So either she always was the Scarlet Witch, or like you know what I'm saying?
She always was, yeah.
That's what it is.
She always was, and she had no idea.
Okay.
I think
how does
Agatha
that
basically
affect
showed
the
her.
show that we watched, though, other than the fact that they needed to get to the point where she could fight a witch?
Well, I think it just gave legitimacy to like the depth of her powers, right? Like we always knew, like, wow, she's really powerful, and like those of us who
would
like
one Thanos,
right? Like we know she's powerful. I think it just gave weight, at least in the universe, and also to like more depth of like, no, not only is we know she's super powerful, like she's in a book.
and there's two things that happen here. There are two storylines happening concurrently. There's Wanda's grief in the Hex, and she's doing this, and she just wants to do this. But there's also Agatha's probing because of her power. Like she says it, like, this magic bubble goes up. Like, I fucking noticed that, and she shows up, and like she is a powerful and more learned magic user. And she wants. I mean, the whole like absorbing man, like take it all, like. Sorry, Ang Lee's Hulk reference there. I see Willie enjoying that. Like I think that was those two things converging. Like Agatha says something along the lines of like, I've been waiting for you to like show me how you did it this whole time, and now we're gonna have to do it the hard way. And I think that's the thing is we were really watching two stories. You know, there's Wanda's grief story and living in the sitcom world and her like escapism, literally, and obviously the war crimes that she commits to do that, and then also Agatha's thirst for her power and why is she so powerful, and how is everyone viewing her power. And I mean, I thought Wanda doing the rune trick, like I was like, she's missing a lot of shots. Like what the? And I was like, oh, fucking brilliant. Like she's a fast learner, and like I don't know, that's just a callback to me to like her time with Cap and Widow and Falcon, like running wet work operation. I mean, not wet work, that's a little dark, but I mean, I guess maybe Wanda would now, who knows. So
yeah, I mean, like I think it works if the converging narratives like actually converge into a way that is fulfilling. So like if Wanda's grief was in service of Wanda doesn't know who she is anymore, and then she was lacking a piece of her identity now that Vision was gone, that somehow motherhood and being a housewife fulfilled, and that at the resolution of all this, becoming the Scarlet Witch was an answer to that, but I don't think it is.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
Right.
It's
so
the whole money to be left alone.
It's more descriptive than prescriptive, right? Like it's just like this is just putting a fancy title on it.
Yeah, I just don't think one actually interacts with the other, and to me that's kind of a waste because it's just like, all right, we're just tacking this on, and I didn't like it.
I agree.
And shouldn't she have known Agatha wasn't like actually under her control, like back to that point from the beginning?
Well, not if Agatha was ultimately controlling her at that point.
Well, and Nick's point too, like she didn't. I mean, Agatha is just more learned as a sorcerer, as a magic user, and Wanda's just like this chaos magic. She just like flings shit because she wants to and she can. Doesn't necessarily understand like maybe there are certain spells. I mean, she knows like she can do the mind control things, but it's sometimes maybe it might have also been like, well, I can control my people with mind control. I didn't think anybody could do it to me.
Yeah. there's a lot of gaps in that
Yeah.
logic to me, and I just don't think narratively it ties up neatly. Okay,
Can I-
last
Sorry,
yeah
go ahead.
yeah last thing, and then we're gonna get to our discussion topics.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
This is a
We're gonna have to
big
cut some.
one.
We're Fury sends a Skrull to get Monica Rambeau.
Oh, I
Did
don't.
he send a scroll?
Somebody
Yeah.
did. Somebody up there.
But was it Fury?
No, they didn't say Fury.
They didn't say Fury.
He
We're
didn't say
you're
Fury, but
inferring.
he said, didn't they say he?
Right.
And they pointed up,
Right.
and
Could've
we
been
saw that that's
Talos.
where Fury. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been Talos, but I just assumed since we
I-
saw Fury at the end
I
of.
read it as Fury. Yeah.
I mean, maybe I definitely thought that was sort of like, wow, you're actually okay. You guys are making a huge leap and setting up something completely different, which I don't know. I was indifferent to that. That was just sort of like cool. So as this wraps up, here's the next thread for you to like, hey, don't forget that this is still a thing.
Yeah,
And
enjoy Captain Marvel 2 when it comes out in 4 years.
I think it's going to be the Secret Invasion show.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be both.
Yeah, you're right. It could be both. And that's
Now,
the
that
thing we
one of
don't
those things
know.
I absolutely don't care about.
And I don't know. That's the
Yeah.
I guess I sort of saw it as like we started watching one story and then halfway through we started getting another story and we're not getting the end of that story. There's still pizza in the box for where this goes in Doctor Strange 2. Like, and
Yeah.
if they pull that off in a satisfying way, like I have this like forgiveness for things that you can retroactively appreciate. And I'll use Life is Strange again. Life is Strange Before the Storm retroactively made me not totally loathe Chloe Price and actually hate Max. And when I played Life is Strange originally, you play as Max, the protagonist or the main character. I don't know if she's actually the protagonist, but you're playing as her. And I just wanted to protect her and like I cared about her. And then I played Before the Storm and I was like, Max is kind of a jerk. Like you were abusive to Chloe. Like I feel bad for how I thought about Chloe the first time I played through this game. And like to be able to change my perspective with more information is something that I think the MCU deftly does. And like however I'm feeling right now, maybe I will retroactively hate this show. But at the moment I'm just sort of like titillated with possibilities.
That's fair. And I'm glad
Like I
some
said-
people are having that reaction. I'm glad some people are like getting that out of the show. I just didn't like. I haven't thought about this show other than to plan for this recap since it ended. Like I watched it and I'm
Yeah.
like, that was
me neither.
worst case scenario for me. And whereas meanwhile, I would spend hours thinking about Infinity War and where we were going to go with that. But
I think,
all right,
I think
go
to
ahead,
your,
Willie.
I think to your point, Brian. I mean, I think some of that is. I mean, I think we've spent a lot of time thinking about the show, this season, and for nothing. You know, essentially. And so why, you know, and I think that's kind of where I ended by the time, you know, they brought the Skrulls out. I was like, great, now they're going to tease now they're just going to tease something else that maybe won't pay off ever either. Like, and I mean, but I think Brian's right, is Marvel has done this so well throughout throughout the MCU of slowly teasing stuff that, you know, it would be akin to if they did all this stuff with the Infinity Stones and Thanos, and then Thanos never showed up. Like, they literally show Thanos and then don't bring him into Infinity War. So I think like that's kind of the, you know, the hangover effect of the show is like, why spend time digging into fan theories and analyzing the show and where it could go if Marvel's broken the social contract with fans on this. I think. And, you know, why dedicate time to it if in the end you're just going to slap me in the face with a boner? Like,
I totally agree, though. Seriously, as someone that's been on board the whole ride for the MCU and like was even into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the Netflix shows because I thought it was all going to connect and really giving them my time and watching things pay off, doing the requisite reading for the comic books or for the movies that would come up, like reading Age of Ultron and having that literally have no impact on that story at all. But yeah, this really to me has been the moment. Like I didn't feel that after the Mandarin moment in Iron Man 3. I was like, that's surprising because all the marketing for this movie made Ben Kingsley's performance seem interesting and cool. And the Mandarin is such a big villain in the comics. And then when it wasn't, I'm like, okay, I guess that narratively fits in with the story, and there was another Mandarin, and like it's fine. But with this, I'm like, yeah, this really feels like you guys pulled one over on us, like on purpose. So
I mean, the marketing was the villain in the Mandarin twist because they literally build it as like that was how they like that was intentional. Like I think there was footage used in the marketing that was not in the movie.
Sure, but the first 2/3 of Iron Man 3, the Mandarin is that until you get to that moment where the switch is.
I mean, I guess they're Scooby-Dooing Guy Pearce for you.
Yeah, but you knew, I feel like I read the Extremis storyline, so I kind of knew I had a red flag about him anyways, but
right.
Right.
I just you don't get an actor like Guy Pearce, and yeah. Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Same with
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn. I mean,
right. Yeah. It was I mean, the Agnes thing is just I've beaten that horse to death. I have no idea why that happened the way it did. But let's jump to this. Would this have been better as a movie instead of a series?
Yes.
Yeah, Willie, I'm going to start with you because we talked about this last week. We both agree on this. I think if you cut out the fat, you make this a streamlined story about grief, have the sitcom thing be like a fun first act thing, and then you really dive into it. I think this 100% could have worked better as a movie. But Willie, why don't you talk about that also?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with a lot of what the show did is I wouldn't have called it a show about grief up until like maybe the second to last episode, and then they've decided, oh, now we've been about grief the whole time, and I think if that was the point of a movie and they didn't, split this up into chunks, I think you're right. I think the TV part is totally downplayed, and I think you have a really emotional, I mean, we've talked about it, Wanda and Vision are the best parts of this show. And if we have an emotional movie looking at her deal with this grief and she gave a phenomenal performance. I think I would go to say that she may have given one of the best performances in the MCU in this show. At least in terms of, making people feel pain and feel emotion, which is a depth I don't think we always get out of the movies. But I don't think we needed it to be a week-to-week TV show for her to get there. I think there's a lot of stuff around the edges of this you could have trimmed, and I mean, yeah, I think it works so much better as like a really tight like 120 movie or something like that. Yeah.
Totally agree. Kyle, what do you think? Better as a movie?
I think conceptually, yes, but I think in terms of how they were able to do and actually shoot and produce those TV shots at the start, I don't think that would have played out as cleanly because you wouldn't have gotten like the week by week format of a TV show, right? Like of a sitcom, you wouldn't get that kind of jump of like, oh, well, next week's gonna be the 80s. I can't wait to see what they like. You wouldn't get that. Granted, I wish they had more of that through the actual show. So if they were to just scrap that part, I guess, and then made it a slightly different movie, yes. But I appreciated the fact that it was a TV show for those kind of that you had to wait till next week and see. I liked the play on the media form.
Yeah,
Giving it credit for form.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with Kyle on that. I like it as a show, obviously. It would have been a different movie. Like you could have told this story as a movie, but it would have had to be remarkably different. And I mean, there would be no puzzle box because you don't have time.
Yep.
You don't have time to think. But I don't know. I like the subversion that they did. Like I like that they took the first TV show and made it a TV show. I like that it was like a show within a show, and I don't know. I enjoyed that, and Kyle's right that you put it on the big screen and none of that framing works. There's no logical transitions, like it was. It was a slow burn. It was wine in a glass, like swirling and sniffing, like, and you don't know exactly how it's gonna taste until a couple episodes in, and like it's an experience. I think that's the difference for me is that I I think that's why I'm not disappointed because I didn't have any expectations going in. I was just like, oh, here's the next thing in the MCU. What is it? And like, people kind of like whispering like Agatha Harkness was a big thing in the comics, and Agnes kind of sounds like that. And it's like, yeah, cool. It could be that. I don't know. Like, I am also not like in love with these characters or have any affiliation, to them. Like, I remember the incestuous relationship with her and Pietro in the Ultimate Universe. But that was edgy and new, and like I'm so glad they didn't do that in the MCU because what the fuck. But for all of the things that the show did deliver on, I don't think that it would have hit as hard as a movie. I saw, I think it was on Reddit, that the first 2 episodes gave Elizabeth Olsen more screen time than she had in the like cumulative 5 pictures or 6 that she previously appeared in the MCU. And obviously that happens just due to subject matter and whatnot, but like the I don't know. I enjoyed how it was delivered, how it was fed. I liked the experimentation, and I think it worked as a framing device specifically for the character and where she was, like in her life and her grief cycle here. Like, I don't know. Like,
what did we learn? Like, I don't know. Like, what did we learn about Wanda's character from any of the sitcom stuff, though?
That's how she processed her grief, Willie.
Oh, I mean,
God.
I think she was still Wanda. Like, I think she
Right.
was still being Wanda in those moments. Like,
That was her trying to preserve good times. That was her just trying to hold on to literally anything she could without breaking her psyche, which, spoiler, it did. But
sure. But did we need 3 episodes of them making bad sitcom jokes to understand that point?
I think we kind of understood that from the start. I think we knew that, but I also think she needed to process that, and for someone to tell her, Wanda, this literally can't happen this way. Granted,
yeah, 3 episodes, but they gave us the first 2 at the same time, so you really only had to do 2 weeks of it, and then you found stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love this concept, and I still love the concept, but I don't think the show successfully, like, it doesn't matter for the story really at all that she made a fake TV show. Like, it mattered for the marketing and for them to do something cool and for them to do an episode in black and white. But then all it amounts to in the finale is Hayward going, oh, she stopped the broadcast. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, and I agree. I was disappointed with that too, just in general, because I think a lot of the, you're right, a lot of the hype was like, ooh, this is weird, and like they're trying to do something different. I was really excited for the different with like some Marvel whatever they're gonna do, but you're right, when they're just like, well, I guess that's done. Time to go shoot some stuff, like that kind of sucked.
I think like if I'm thinking back over the course of the show, I think like one of my favorite moments, not counting Wanda's grief moments. I think those rank as the best. I think we all agree on, where the emotional heart of the show is. But I still loved that stupid stork because it was weird and it didn't make any sense. And it was a weird sitcom-y thing. And like, they didn't even really, like, I mean, I feel like they made like a couple like meta jokes about the sitcom format, but they didn't use it to serve the narrative purpose. They didn't use it to say something about how we view TV in the world. They didn't use it really to say anything about Wanda's grief, except this is where she escaped to. And I don't think they needed the format of the show. Like, I think if you're looking at a movie and the movie's opening scene is her and Vision on the couch, and she's like, hey, I used to watch TV shows as a kid. Like, I think we get the same impact from that as we do from like 4 episodes of this show. Yeah, that's
I still go back to that scene last week, Willie, where Vision is watching the sitcoms with her in the Avengers Mansion, and he asks why it's funny, and she goes, "No, he's not actually hurt," and she says, "It's not that kind of show." I just really thought that was an powerful thing. I thought that they could have done something with that, but I think, Willie, you're 100% right. Like, much like the Scarlet Witch thing, the TV idea, and Willie, you've been saying this from Jump Street, it's like it was a cool idea in terms of marketing, and it's like a cool premise. They just didn't do anything with it. Like, it was a fun framing device for a few episodes, and like you got some light comedy out of it, and they worked it into it being part of her childhood trauma, but it ultimately doesn't impact the story other than it's a way for Wanda to feel like everything's okay at the end. But why the time jumps? Why it goes sequentially in time jumps? If it was just jumping between decades and sitcom styles, I get it, but why start with 50s and go sequentially up? It's just like there's a lot there that the show is asking us to
Wasn't the
take.
Dick Van Dyke Show like the thing that she was watching when she got bombed?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't in control, like, of all of this, like, the whole time. So I sort of feel like some of the progression and, like, I feel like some of that was Agatha throwing her curveballs, trying to get her caught up to, like, the real world, the present day, like. And I guess, I mean, maybe that wasn't the point of Agatha all along, but I kind of got the feeling like the stork exemplifies that Wanda was not in full control of this, and, like, whether consciously or subconsciously or outside factor, like, I think the progression of framing and events kind of served to sort of, like, pull her through rather than leave her comfortable. And that was the Pietro Halloween reveal. Like, that was a huge curveball. Like, that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
And to break that trust with Vision, like clearly Agatha was trying to separate them, like, emotionally and physically. I don't know. Was it probably just a cool marketing idea to start? Yes. Do I think they fully delivered on all of the things that they could have done with it? No. Do I really care though?
Yeah,
Not
I
really.
guess, like,
No, I'm all right with
yeah.
it.
I think
where I'm gonna put
that's
on my
fair.
hat of, like, I'm thinking too much into this, and I'm giving them a lot more credit, because, like, the idea of sitcoms and these TV shows, and that's why I'm glad they did the flashback, is like people watch those and watch those funny things because that, like, either that sort of happened to you in some way, it's just more funny on a sitcom, or it's kind of unrealistic and you're like, oh well, it's just a TV show, whatever. I think that, like, that concept of, like, this in a bubble, it only happens in a TV show, to put that in a Marvel universe, like, I think that was conceptually interesting, and I think they probably just ran with that concept as much as they could and went, oh shit, no, we have to actually write a story around this.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what it feels like.
right.
Truly.
And I completely agree with pretty much everybody. Was like, the concept was there, but it didn't mesh exactly well with what they were doing with Wanda. It's like, you have these two separate great concepts, and then they just didn't mesh together the way they thought.
Yeah, it was like a game of, like, categories, and someone said WandaVision, and then they were like, oh, that could be a TV show. Like, what if we put Wanda and, like, TV together? Like,
Right.
yeah.
It's like
And
someone read the Vision comic book, someone read House of M, and someone read Avengers Disassemble, and was like,
They all got high in one room.
wait a minute. Yeah, literally, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What if? And
What
then
if
they
we
just
did all these
threw
things,
all the
but then
comic
none
book.
of it at all?
Exactly. All right, we're gonna end with this. So everybody, get your last thoughts in, because we're gonna end on this note. How are we supposed to feel about Wanda now? And looking into the future of the MCU, because I'll start off with us, and I'll close it out here, and then we'll go around the horn. I get a feeling from Wanda now, the same feeling that I got after Man of Steel, which is like, our hero was not at all heroic. And like, what the hell am I supposed to feel about this person now? Like, she's an Avenger, or at least was, and she just tortured a town full of people and children for like weeks, months, maybe. We don't really know. and then she lets them go, I guess. But it's not like if she mind whammied them all where they forgot, I guess that would be better. But she doesn't, and they're just like, well, glad that's over. Bye. So how do we feel
Monica
about
says it was okay,
what?
but Monica says it's okay.
Right, Monica says, because Monica also experienced grief in her life, because she would have probably done the same thing, which is a weird throwaway line, and I just feel like Monica's character got a complete disservice, I think, in the back half of the show after she got her powers, but that's neither here nor there. So how are we supposed to feel about Wanda? Because I'm of the mind that Wanda needs to be stopped. Like Doctor Strange needs to put her in like a magic fucking jail or something. So we're gonna go around the horn. Nick, I'm gonna start with you. How do we feel about Wanda, and what do we feel about the future of her place in the MCU?
Dead to me. No, I think you're supposed to feel conflicted. I think Wanda is set up in a way that like Hulk kind of was. I think I referenced Hulk earlier, but like this was her, like she just wanted to be left alone. and she couldn't do that, and now she's like we forgave Hulk for all the shit that he did, and not maybe we didn't forgive him, but like Hulk did a lot of shit. Hulk isn't exactly heroic. Throughout his tenure, and I kind of like that Marvel's not afraid to make their heroes flawed, but for reasons like you referenced Man of Steel, but Man of Steel was just a slugfest with little regard to human life, and then like and totally out of character brutal murder, like like that's literally the one thing Superman will not do, and he did it. Wanda, I think Wanda, yes, but all of the MCU characters are kind of in that gray area where it's like they are people, and what happens with it's not to the extreme of the boys, but what happens if like people in the real world get these powers? Because the answer is going to be some shitty things, and like sure, Monica just being like, well, I guess I'm the director of Sword now, and I would have done the same thing. Like, you're right, that's a throwaway line. I think that's going to tie to Captain Marvel 2 in some way. I think Monica's relationship with her is going to be revealed to be strained in some way and negative. I'm on board the theory that Carol somehow caused her mother's cancer, and that's like a rift with them.
What the hell?
Yeah, the radiation from Carol and the whatever the Tesseract caused.
It's like the Watchmen thing where Dr. Manhattan indirectly causes people. Okay. Well,
yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that. That kind of makes sense that she's somehow going to blame Carol, I think, for her mother's death, some way, shape, or form, whatever it was. And the only way you can blame someone for cancer is if they're radioactive. And Spider-Man. What was that? Spider Island. Mary Jane's inoculated from Peter's radioactive dong. Sorry.
Spider Island's rough.
Yeah. But
all right.
So anyway, I think we're supposed to feel as conflicted as we do about Wanda at this point. Like she flew away, and I said to my wife, I was like, we just gonna ignore the fact that she just fucked up those people, like, legit? And I think the consequences are coming. I think the rest of part 2 of this series is going to be further explored.
Kyle, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm glad she did that, and hear me out. Because I think this sets up even more strife that I'm hoping, and hope is a futile thing at this point. I'm hoping that this like rift of like, well, people with powers do shitty things because they're still people with powers, will set up more strife with mutants, right? So I think that if for some reason Kevin Feige says, you know what, let's do it this way, I think this could be one of the things they allude to, like, hey, remember that one Wanda did that really shitty thing to those random people in a town in New Jersey? Like, they could do that everywhere. Like, I think setting up something to that effect. Now, granted, what do I think about Wanda? It's messy. I think she's got some splaining to do.
I would give that to you if that wasn't already a Civil War thing, though.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, it's tough. And again, hope is just another thing where I shouldn't have it at this point. But I could see them just referencing that, and I don't want them to use this series as just a 2-second reference. But if that's what causes this, I think to Nick's point, like using this as like a cannon fodder for Doctor Strange, and have that be the main conflict. If it happens to be Wanda versus Doctor Strange, well, I'm all in. That makes sense to me.
The magic battle Brian never wanted.
Right, the one movie that Brian will never ever watch. Basically. Yeah. I think, but I'm excited for that because I think it challenges us to go, well, who do you really root for? Because I mean, it's kind of like it's Iron Man versus Cap again. Like, you can see it. Neither is the bad guy. Clearly,
Civil War II was a comic,
right? I think it's
Cap all the way. Tony's an idiot.
No, Civil War II was Carol versus Tony.
Yeah, that one was bad. No, I'm just talking about the movie Civil War.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying Team Cap.
It was just I'm intrigued to see what they do with Wanda now. I'm not as hopeful as I was 3 episodes ago. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next subsequent movies.
Kyle, I'll give you a ton of props if like Marvel is building toward Wanda does become a big heel, and that she does have to fight Strange, and that like she'll turn into like Parallax like in DC, and that eventually she'll have to be redeemed by giving up her life to save whatever mutant, whatever. I doubt it, but Willie, what do we think about Wanda? Yeah, I'm gonna leave you have the final word on this and all things.
No. I mean, I think. Okay, so there's a couple things. First, I mean, the comments that they've said where, people won't have to watch WandaVision to understand Doctor Strange makes me think that this show is just going to have way less impact across the MCU than, we originally thought. I really, really wanted Dark Wanda, and I think that I'm not so much conflicted about her at the end, as I feel like the problem was they like flirted with the idea of Dark Wanda, but then Marvel just couldn't commit to making one of their lead Avengers actually go evil. And I think, and so that's how I feel about her. Like, I really thought for a while that they were leading up to her versus Doctor Strange, and I thought that would be really cool. I just don't. I think they're afraid of taking any of their main stars and actually having them do anything like really, really bad. Like I feel like these last few episodes was the show trying to convince you that Wanda was actually a superhero all along. And I think it's like like Nick and Kyle, I think it's good that you guys are kind of like of both minds about it, because I think that's probably how the show wanted you to feel. But I don't know, they could have done so much with her in terms of going dark and the redemption arc or anything like that. And it just seems like they toyed with this idea and then got gun shy and were like, no, we have to make her good somehow.
I think I would have been more disappointed if they made it a movie and didn't make her dark, because I think in a movie you would want that to happen and then have a bigger redemption. Like, I would have loved that if that were a movie. That is exactly what I want to see. I completely agree.
Well, now to me, Wanda starts this journey of WandaVision and ends up in kind of the same exact place, except now she's got a magic book that's fun to read, I guess. Well, that's it. We get no aerospace engineer. We get no Reed Richards. We get no Ultron. We get no explanation to what the commercials were about, and we just kind of did away with those after it no longer served the purpose. So that's it. That's WandaVision, everyone. But no, I do thank you all.
Yet.
This was... We're never going to get it. I do thank you all for jumping on and talking through this with me, and I hope that Kyle and Nick, Willie is staying in Westview. He has decided that this will be where currently where his 2800 run ends for now. But Nick and Kyle, I hope you'll join me back in the 2800 after we're taking a week off this week, and then I think like next week is when the show I'm most excited for of all of the announced MCU shows, Falcon and Winter Soldier, kicks off.
I'll take the cynical approach.
Yeah. And I will talk you into every single episode because Falcon is one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters. I love anything Captain America related, so I'm there for that. But thank you all for jumping on here and talking about WandaVision. I'm glad that we all had fun talking about it while we could, and it's been a roller coaster ride. So Kyle and Nick, thank you for joining us as always, and I'm sure we will have you back. I will definitely have you back again. Willie is WandaVision has burned him. He will be nowhere to be found. He's gonna join Wanda in her cabin in Canada, I guess, or wherever the hell she is.
Mount
If I were to choose a way for the series to end, it would be me and Wanda in a cabin in Canada. So.
Yeah. Well, all right. That is going to be it for us. Willie, as always, we're going to end our final episode of the 2800 for WandaVision. Take what you can.
Give nothing back.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.